What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Trust Your Board podcast. My name is Stephen Wright. I am joined, as always, by Mr. William Monroe. Will, how are you doing, man?
Steve, doing good, man. How about yourself?
I can't complain. Doing pretty good. Happy to bring you all another guest for a mock draft here. We have Mr. Jacob Dunn from, honestly, a lot of different places. We'll let him talk a little bit about that. Jacob, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm blessed, guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I mentioned you are a part of a lot of different things by the looks of it. What do you do there for the Broncos?
Yeah, so I am a Denver Broncos and fantasy football expert on Primetime Sports Talk, as well as Fantasy Six Pack and New Life Fantasy. I contribute to all those websites.
Wonderful. And what's your Twitter handle for everybody that wants to give you a follow here?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Ain't Done Yet, and Dunn is spelled Dunne. I mostly tweet about football, baseball, basketball, anything of those sports. I talk about all of the fantasy sports. With those three sports, at least those are the three that I focus on. I love all fantasy sports, but those are the ones that I mainly focus on.
Awesome. You actually answered part of my next question. Like, what sort of content do you put out? And like, is it mostly Broncos, or do you have like a niche? But it sounds like it's fantasy overall.
Yeah. So right now in this season, I am busting out a bunch of Broncos stuff as far as position battles, who to look for your fantasy football team, what you can expect from them. So right now it's all about the Broncos, and just in general fantasy football too.
Gotcha. You looking into any Rockies stuff with the schedule just being released for baseball?
You know, what's funny is that I am originally from Las Vegas, so I am a huge Dodger fan. But since I'm here, I have been plugged into the Rockies. There's just not much sense of optimism around here for this season. It's just a very weird time, you know?
Arenado or bust for that team really right now, probably, right?
Exactly. And, you know, who knows if his head is completely in it this year because there was so much drama.
Yep.
So, yeah. It'll be interesting.
Definitely.
Cool. So we got a couple, two quick players we want to run by you real quick here for the Broncos. So first and foremost, we want to talk quickly about Noah Fant. A lot of people have him pinned as a breakout candidate this year, but you know they did bring in Judy. They drafted Albert O. Got a new running game. Drew Lock's pretty, unproven, easily very unproven. What do you think of Noah Fant? Is this going to be like a fantasy breakout for him? Do you think more of a step up, but not a true breakout? What are you thinking?
I don't see a true breakout coming, but I do see him being a reliable low-end tight end one. You know, like a guy that you can expect him to catch at least 5 catches for 60 to 70 yards. And if he has a touchdown, that's just a bonus. But I think you can look at Fant as a reliable dude. I mean, he's 6'5", he's 250 pounds, and he can run a 4.5 40. I mean, those are rare breeds. I mean, I don't know if you're watching that Browns game when he took that slant to the house and he was just like pushing dudes over like he looked just like a young Gronk. So I don't compare him necessarily to Gronk, but he does have the height, the weight, and the strength to be Gronk-like this season. Like you said, we did add a bunch of dudes on offense, but I think because of Locke's inexperience and the line is a little bit suspect, I do see him leaning towards Fant a lot this season.
Yeah, Fant's definitely an interesting one with all the receiving options they have. But our next question is actually going to go to the backfield and probably be more for Dynasty listeners. I don't know if this guy's going to be super relevant this year, but we're trying to figure out what happened to Royce Freeman. Is he going to turn into a bust? Do you think it's just been bad luck? Is he on the trade block? Like, what is the outlook for Royce this year and going forward?
Yeah, that is actually a great question, just because I feel like Royce Freeman's he's just been extremely overshadowed by Lindsey and Gordon, just because Royce Freeman, when you look at him on tape, he doesn't do a lot that is special. You know, like his second season was somewhat of a mixed bag. You know, like he had like some success and then just followed by some duds. Whereas Philip Lindsay, he stayed pretty consistently solid throughout the whole season. And I think the Broncos really needed a consistent back, and that's why they got Gordon. So for Freeman, I see the Broncos desperately trying to trade him and getting some sort of value back, because I just don't see his future here in Denver, but I do see his future somewhere else, like just in case the Eagles want an insurance back behind Sanders or a team like that who needs an insurance back.
So you think that maybe long term there is some value, more maybe like a goal line type back, but like just not.
He could. Yeah. I can definitely see him being a goal line back for a contending team or a team that just needs depth overall. And if he takes over for, let's say, like an injured running back, I see him producing in short spurts. But if you own him in a dynasty league, I'd be trying to flip him for whatever you can right now.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think we have him in one league too, and we just have no depth in the dynasty league at running back. So we're just, grasping all the straws we can. But yeah, I don't know what to think of him, man. I like him. Yeah, I like him coming out of college. I thought he had a good bit of talent. You know, he didn't prove a ton so far, but he looked okay, I think, the rookie year. And then I think he just needs a new team, like you said, a team maybe like the Eagles or a team that just has maybe one running back but not a ton of depth, and he can get a role as like a power back or kind of a change of pace guy.
Right. I think it's possible. I think that if he does get a new situation with a running back coach that believes in him, he could have some value. So he's worth holding on to for sure, because he's young. He's only 24 years old. So I would definitely hold him and see if he's able to be traded to a better situation.
Yeah, that's probably the only hope for 2020 specifically. Can't really see him back in much with Lindsay and Gordon ahead of him.
Agreed.
Beautiful. So we're going to go ahead and get on to the mock here, guys. How's that sound?
Awesome.
Let's do it. Let's mock.
Beautiful. So we got a 2 QB mock draft for everyone today. This is an interesting one. It's been a while since I've done a 2 QB league. How about you, Jacob?
Yeah, to be honest, I have never done one of these before because I've never had friends who are interested in doing a 2 quarterback team league. And I've always been curious. I've always wanted to do it. Just everyone, there's, at least on my end, there's like a negativity towards it, just because it would be like, oh, then all the quarterbacks have all of the value. But I think it just throws another variable, another wrench into being extremely strategic when it comes to drafting. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, it's almost like there's a fear to it, like you're going to run out of QBs. Which, I mean, if you have 12 teams, there's a good chance that most teams are only going to have 2, because you only have 32 starters. But yeah, I mean, I think Steve's the same boat as you and myself. I've never done one. I've done a bunch of mock drafts, but I've never actually been in a 2 QB league. But Steve and I are actually in it's almost like a Scotty Fishbowl-esque type thing. And that one is, I believe, it's Superflex, Steve, right? Not 2 QB.
Yeah, it's Superflex, so a little bit different, but
yeah. But still, imagine most QBs are going to run. So that should be interesting. It'll be a good first time trying it out.
All right.
Beautiful.
All right. I'm excited.
Yeah, so we're going to jump in. I'm drafting out of the 3 slot. Will's drafting out of the 6, and Jacob is in the 10 spot. We didn't really talk about this beforehand. And Will, I'm going to make sure this is okay with you. I'm just going to plug McCaffrey in as the 101. Jacob, we've done like 4 drafts here over the past month, and every draft has not had McCaffrey go as the 1-on-1. Yeah, it's always been
nice.
Yeah, Cook, Zeke, Kamara. It's like, so if Will, you're okay with that, Will, I'm just going to plug in McCaffrey just to normalize things here. Okay, cool. So plugged in McCaffrey. We're going to go ahead and get everything going. Saquon goes off at the 102, which makes a lot of sense. It puts me in an interesting spot because I don't want to go quarterback early. I would rather wait and just grab a running back, but I got a feeling Will's going to avoid the quarterback. I'm not sure what you're going to do, Jacob. So I will do the opposite of Will. I will grab a quarterback early and see what my team turns into.
Going with the big money man, or?
Yeah, I'll
like it.
probably go big money, man. I mean, there's no wrong answer. They're both, Mahomes and Lamar are both perfectly
Right.
fine. So big money man's the one I'm going to place my bet on. So I've drafted Mahomes. We had Kamara go off the board right after me, and then Lamar right before you, Will.
Yeah, if Lamar's there, I don't think I could have passed on him. And Watson still being there is interesting as well. But as we mentioned, there's quite a few good quarterbacks left. And I think even though quarterbacks are going to go early, running backs are still going to fly off the board. So I think this is the first round, probably going to be a place where unless a quarterback falls to you, you still want to lock in a good running back. Plenty of receivers, plenty of tight ends available. So I think for me, still don't understand why Zeke's ADP is so far down. But I think
Agreed.
I would go Zeke over Cook here. I know the holdout scare definitely adds to it, but even in an even playing field, in a redraft league like this, Zeke seems to be an easy choice here for me. So I'll lock in Zeke, I think, for the second draft in a row, Steve, if I recall.
Yeah, I believe so.
Anything you hope falls to you before I pick him here, and see what happens, Jacob?
Zeke definitely would have been my pick as well. And before it gets to my pick, I mean, I would have only taken a quarterback if it was a Mahomes or Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
So now that you took Zeke, I'm really curious who falls to me. I mean, I hope that Kamara or Cook falls to me, but I don't know. I mean, I'm super curious here.
Yeah.
So I think Yeah,
we'll see. Maybe the computer goes quarterback. I could see them going quarterback early too. So we'll grab Zeke here and see what happens. Michael Thomas, Russell Wilson, wow, and Dalvin Cook. Man, Dalvin almost makes it to you.
You know what's funny is that I actually wanted Russell Wilson, but I was hoping that he would fall to me in the second round.
Huh.
You know, like I was sure that he would at least last a few because everyone's on Prescott over him, as well as Kyler. But if you remember, Russell Wilson was in the MVP talk before Lamar Jackson just ran with it.
Mm-hmm.
So he's as consistent as they get. And in a 2 quarterback league, I don't blame that pick of Russell.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at who's available, and the best quarterbacks to me available are Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
But there's so many position players that can ball out, and I can probably wait on a quarterback next round. So I think I'm debating between Kamara and, I don't know, I was going to say Cook, but Cook's gone. So I think it makes my decision a little bit easier to take Alvin Kamara
Kamara's
here.
off the board, my friend.
Oh, is he?
No way.
That's right.
Oh, wow. He was out. Oh, he was off at 1.4.
Yeah.
Shoot. My fault. Oh,
Time
man.
to rethink on the fly here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Man, I did not see that. So I think the best running backs available after that, I would probably take Drake, Henry, or Chubb. Maybe even Mixon. I don't know. I like Mixon's workload. So
PPR league too, so keep that in mind. Full PPR.
It is a PPR league, right? I think I will just. Oh, this is so tough. I'm sorry, guys.
No, you're good.
I'm waffling here, but
this is that crucial pick, man. This is where you build your team around.
Right. And so I think the only running back, even though Drake might have more upside than Mixon, I think Mixon might be the safest pick here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm going to roll with Mixon here. So
not bad.
Let's.
Steve and I think we're both fairly high on Mixon, and we're still unsure like why he's been going like late first, early second most of the time. Where I think looking at the running backs, I probably like him above anybody that's still available, as you said.
Yeah. I just think he has the safest floor here, and that's what I want out of my first round draft pick. So, all right. So after Mixon went Devontae Adams, Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, and Nick Chubb. So it comes back to me where I'm looking at Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, or perhaps I go back to Kenyon Drake, who was actually I was thinking about getting, or Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
He's been gaining a lot of steam lately, and I'm really debating on Miles Sanders because it's funny. I tweeted earlier that Sanders is going to creep up into the first round conversation when this is all said and done because they haven't signed a veteran running back.
Still not yet. The one thing that I worry about is losing veteran guard.
True, Brooks.
Yeah, Brooks, but it's still. I mean, their line is still really good, so I could definitely see him creeping into the first, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I think so too. I think even though this is a 2 quarterback league, I think I will take my chances on the next round and just go with the high ceiling of Sanders here.
Go Sanders, Julio.
Yeah, and then after that went Julio Jones, and then Derrick Henry, and then Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray got picked right before you, Will.
That's tough because I would like Murray. I also would like Dak, but it'd be interesting pairing Dak and Zeke together. But it's tough to pass.
That'd be cool.
There's still some good running backs available too. You still got Josh Jacobs on the board.
Right.
I feel like that's tough to pass up because after him, you got Eckler, Jones, Fournette, kind of a teardrop there. So I feel like if I did take Jacobs here, I'd be really comfortable at running back for a little while. Even Drake still, wow, he's pretty far down there too. That's weird.
Agreed.
But yeah, Dak is kind of, I think Steve and I were talking about it too. There's kind of like a top 6 tier, and Dak is that tier break right here. There's still a good bit of all the tight ends available, ton of receivers available, so I probably am not looking at either of those positions. For me, it's Jacobs or Drake at running back, and then the option of taking Dak. I think Steve kind of called my plan. I'm probably going to wait another round on quarterback just to see what happens, test out waiting a little bit on the position as well. I don't know who I think it's probably Jacobs. I think the volume's there. It's more of a volume play versus just potent offense and that Drake's going to be on. But I think it's too appetizing not to take a second running back in Jacobs there and kind of take the same model that you have there with Mixon and Sanders. So I'm going to go Josh Jacobs here.
Right.
We'll see what happens. Steve, Austin Eckler, and Tyreek Hill. Ooh, Steve, are you tempted to go 2 quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, with Dak there, it's kind of tempting, but I just can't do it. Drafting Mahomes in the first round is enough of a change for me. So I think it's easy. I can't pass up Drake here. Really interested in him this year. I don't know if he would fall this far normally. I mean, you got a lot of quarterbacks going off the board, and that pushes a lot of people lower. It's very interesting, but I can't pass up Drake. I can't let running backs get past me, so I'm probably going to go running back here, and then figure things out from there. So I'm just going to lock in Drake now. He's just a tier above everybody else for me. After that, we had Godwin.
Dak didn't fall.
We have Dak going. There we go at the end of the second. Aaron Jones and Kenny Golladay going off before my pick, which is a shame because I did kind of want Aaron Jones to get back to me. So that's a shame. So we will pause and run down each position here real quick. At quarterback, we have Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Carson Wentz, and Drew Brees. At the running back position, Fournette, Melvin Gordon, Chris Carson, Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson. At wide receiver, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen. And then we have all our tight ends available, which is also interesting. Normally you see one of them go off. Right. Boy, I really want a running back, but we're starting into that tier that kind of worries me. I think it's kind of like a dynasty mindset, though, because all these guys are pretty fine for this year.
Yeah.
It's more when you're thinking long term that you kind of get burned by some of them.
Right.
I'm tempted to take Melvin Gordon just to be a jerk. But I think...
Pander to the crowd?
Yeah, pander to the Bronco fans out there. But I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and grab Chris Carson. Despite the injury, I feel safest with him. I still worry about what happens with Fournette with the pass catching, Chris Thompson there. Melvin Gordon's solid, but what's the Lindsey usage going to be? How big is the split going to be there? And I think Melvin might have the higher upside, but Chris Carson's just been so steady. As long as he's healthy and ready to go, Penny's going to be missing the first big chunk of the season, and I'm not too worried about Hyde. So I think I got a nice safe pick there in Chris Carson, and then that opens me up to kind of do what I want with my next pick. So feeling kind of comfortable. We'll lock him in, Mike Evans, and then there's our first tight end, Travis Kelce, right before you, Will.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's interesting looking at what's available, as you mentioned, with running backs. Not kind of thrilled with the guys that are there. You got that kind of almost middle tier of guys that are satisfactory and probably okay for RB2. If I really wanted to go heavy RB, wouldn't be bad. But I think there's just too many other positions available that I would like. That quarterback break kind of happened, and I think Josh Allen, Carson Wentz, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, there's still quite a few QBs I'm okay with taking as the top QB. So I think I'm going to wait there. And with so many receivers available, I think this is a point where I might go early tight end with Kittle still on the board here.
Wow.
Lock in my tight end, not have to really worry about that the rest of the draft here. And then just kind of pepper away at wide receiver, quarterback, and some running back. So let's see what happens when you go early tight end with back-to-back running backs and see how that works out. George Kittle.
Cool.
I like it. Tight end run.
Yeah. Amari Cooper goes, Josh Allen, and Aaron Rodgers.
Interesting. That's super interesting that Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers went, because I didn't even have them, as far as my own rankings in the top 5. I still think that Wentz is better and Ryan's better. And I have a few dark horse candidates that I will hope falls to me later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm right with you, man. A lot of hype around Josh Allen this year, but I'm with Matt Ryan and Wentz as well.
He got a lot of hype, but I feel like he gets a lot of hate on Twitter, Josh Allen. It's like weird. It's like hot and cold with him. It's either you love him or you hate him.
That is perfect. That's exactly what's going on.
Right?
Man, so, I personally, even in a 2 quarterback league, there are other quarterbacks I feel more comfortable with than Allen and Rodgers. And now it's between, so I have 2 running backs, so I'm set there, but there is a flex. But like you guys said, I mean, the running backs available are okay, like Fournette, Gordon, Bell. Bell, to me, in that group is the safest just because there's no one competing for touches. And despite that weird year last year, he is the only guy there. But I can't bring myself to draft a running back right now, already having 2 and no quarterbacks. And I actually believe a lot in Carson Wentz this year. So I'm going to pull the trigger on Carson Wentz here.
Double down where I couldn't with Zeke and Dak.
Yeah. Nice.
Yes. Pairing him with Miles Sanders, that's also fun.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I was listening to somebody talk about where you pair people. Like people don't want to pair 2 receivers, and sometimes not a receiver running back. Quarterback receiver everyone loves, but the quarterback running back, if it's like an option type offense like Zeke and Dak, like Lamar and Ingram, and even I think Wentz and Sanders, the way he catches the ball, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to see what they do this year.
Yeah.
So then after Wentz goes Odell Beckham Jr., Cooper Kupp, Melvin Gordon, and Leonard Fournette. So the running back room's getting a little tight now to where, these backs have the guaranteed workload. And with wide receiver pretty deep this year, and I'm willing to wait on a tight end, I think I will go back to my Le'Veon Bell pick, which I know a lot of people are hesitant to draft Bell because of his off year. But again, I mean, he's the only option there, and he's the safest dude, and he's going to go in my flex spot. I feel pretty comfortable with Mixon, Sanders, and Bell and Wentz as my quarterback, hoping that a few wide receivers drop my way later. So I'm going to go with Bell. And I'm curious, guys, do you guys have any thoughts on Bell? Are you guys staying away?
Yeah, I think we're both kind of on the fence about him. I like Bell's talent. I think we both are just not fans of Gase, as I think most people are not.
I get it.
And he obviously has come out too and said he was not about the signing of Bell, which is really weird for a coach to say, but then not demand to have that player traded. So I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, I like him with what you did. He's a running back 3. He's a volume play. If he he's going to be fine. He'll be a running back 2, which is what you're drafting him for. So this is the right position for
Right.
me. If I was relying on him as my one, if I went like wide receiver, I'd be kind of worried. But yeah,
Exactly.
you're fine with what you did.
Exactly. Thanks, guys. And then we got Adam Thielen, Allen Robinson, and Drew Brees right before you, Will.
All right, so pretty easy pick here for me. I'm looking, obviously, not going to go tight end, but we still have everybody but Kittle and Kelsey on the board. There's still quite a few receivers I like. Obviously, kind of that first couple tiers are gone, but receivers so deep this year, and this is kind of, a showing with you and me and Steve, none of us having a receiver yet, that there's still just so many available. If you load up on the other positions, you're still okay. And then, as you mentioned, we're kind of in that. David Johnson and Gurley are interesting. David Montgomery, if you really wanted something safe because you had like high upside guys. But for me, taking a quarterback here probably seems like the logical option and something that I want to get for the team. And Matt Ryan just makes sense here. It was probably
love it.
I was hoping either Wentz, Breeze, or Ryan got back. So thrilled to see that the teams between you and I really didn't have too many running backs. I thought they would all go running back actually, but none of them did. But still good to see one of them get back. So pretty easy to lock in my first quarterback here with Matt Ryan. And we'll see what gets back to you there, Steve.
Great pick.
Thank you. Calvin Ridley, Colin Sutton, and you're up, Steve.
Man, I wanted both of them, and I really wanted Sutton because of Jacob. Man. Okay.
I understand.
Darn.
He is a beast.
Yeah, he is.
Man.
That sucks. But that's fine. I feel a little bit more flexible here where I'm good, like Will was saying, wide receivers really deep, so I don't feel like I have to go. Running back's interesting because you got David Johnson still. You do have Gurley. You have Montgomery. So I like a lot of the options here. But I am going to go ahead and grab a wide receiver, somebody that I love, that I know Will loves. Jacob, I'm sure you love him as well, but I'll ask your opinion once I draft him. Mr. DJ Moore from Carolina. Yeah, I know you did.
PPR monster.
For sure. And quite a wide receiver run here. So after DJ Moore, we have Baker Mayfield go off and then Tyler Lockett to round out the fourth, and then T.Y. Hilton and DK Metcalf. So I'm back on the board here.
So you started that run.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, it started after Will. You had Ridley and Sutton go off. So a longer run here. I'm in a tough spot because I'd love to add another running back. It's going to be dry when it gets back to me.
And there's been literally none since Jacob took Bell.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're going to go. Some of these teams only have one running back. Like, they're going to go. But, man, DJ Chark, Robert Woods, Boyd. I mean, there's so many nice wide receivers that I love. But
it really is, yeah.
I can't pass up a running back. I really want Gurley, I think. But I also really want to roll the dice on Clyde Edwards-Helaire as well.
Oh.
I know. It's just the gamble.
Risky, but it is the fifth round. I mean, it's up to you. Do you want risk or do you want, you want safety?
Problem is I gamble a lot. And when I gamble a lot, I lose a lot. So,
I got you.
Man, it sucks. I'm going to go with Gurley. I already gambled with Mahomes, so I'm going to lock in Gurley here. Then we'll start pounding the wide receiver position later.
I like that pick.
Robert Woods goes off, and then Daniel Jones, 5'5".
Yeah. I don't know if that's who you're looking at too, but Woods was somebody I was eyeing up, man. He's so consistent, I feel like, and he's such a safe option, especially if you're other position heavy like we all are and you want to get a first receiver. Gurley was another guy I was looking at. It's definitely a really high upside pick, as you mentioned, Steve. The only really running back that's screaming out to me is Clyde, as Steve mentioned there. Montgomery's a solid, safe option. Connor's interesting. Ingram's probably a nice, safer option. And David Johnson. But if I'm going running back, I'm probably going to go upside, having already two pretty consistent guys that I'm banking on. So Clyde is my RB option. Look at the wide receivers. You got Debo's. They're still top of the board there with Diggs, Chark, Tyler Boyd, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen. There's so many good receivers available. I think getting this may be the last kind of running back that I'm really happy to draft or in that top tier. So I think I can't pass on Clyde Edwards here. We're going to go CEH and punt the receiver position at least one more round.
I like it.
And then
I like the risk.
Thank you. We'll see what happens. See if I can get any of the receivers I'm interested in. We got Diggs, Boyd, and then David Montgomery to you, Jacob.
Nice. So, yeah, like you said earlier, I was actually hoping that Woods would fall to me. It's good to know that he wouldn't have fell to me because you would have taken him. And then actually, I was looking at Daniel Jones, but I was hoping he would drop a little bit farther than that. I really like his rushing ability.
Kind of surprising. Yeah, it's kind of surprising that he went where he went.
Yeah. So now that Woods is off the board, Jones is off the board. I wasn't looking at Diggs, Boyd, or Montgomery since I already have 3 backs. So I really need a wide receiver. And this next guy I'm going to take, if he isn't already, oh no, he's still there.
Okay.
I believe in this guy. He's going to have a huge bounce back year, and that's Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm a huge fan of his. Yeah, with Big Ben coming back, I really think, especially in a PPR league, I mean, they're going to try to force feed him that ball. And as long as Big Ben is healthy, I think he goes back to, almost wide receiver 1 status in a PPR league. I mean, I think he will get there. So, I mean, I have high hopes for him, and this is probably the cheapest, at the end of round 5. I mean, this is the cheapest I've seen him go in some mock drafts I've been a part of, but I've never been a part of a 2 quarterback one. But I really want my guy here. I feel safe with him as my wide receiver 1. So I think I'll take the plunge there with Juju. And then James Conner goes off the board. Devin Singletary, DJ Chark, AJ Brown.
AJ was the guy I was looking at. I was hoping he would get back.
Yeah. So I know that AJ Brown, he is high on everyone's board, at least higher than what I have him. I just want to see AJ Brown do it again.
Yeah.
Call me a pessimist, which I probably am at this point with AJ Brown, but I want to see Tannehill do it again, and I want to see Brown do it again. Like it seemed like everything just lined up for them both to have a killer second half of the year. And with Derrick Henry running, and they're like a run heavy team, I just feel a little bit safer with Juju, but I get that Brown has a much higher ceiling.
Yeah, I think for me, I was still all over the place. I liked him before the draft, didn't like the landing spot, so I was hesitant coming in, and then he killed it, obviously, so it's interesting to see. I just think he's a good boomer bust option for like a team like, most of us here who don't have a receiver or have one receiver. He's like a good kind of upside shot that you could end up with a wide receiver 1 early on here. So it's interesting.
True. Yeah, absolutely. And usually, I mean, so I'd be getting nervous right now that it's a 2 quarterback league. All the quarterbacks are drying up, but it is just so hard to ignore that Mark Andrews, tight end of the Ravens, is still available.
For sure.
Yeah, that no other tight end went except for Kittle and Kelsey. That's crazy.
Right. It's just, I just want to draft him and not look back. I mean, I'm going to feel comfortable with him as my starting tight end. He could easily match those numbers next year and then some. So I'm going to go ahead and take Mark Andrews off the board, and I'm going to predict that Ertz is going to go right after him, or Waller, but I guess we'll see. So Andrews off the board, and then Debo, Keenan Allen, Mark Ingram, and then back to you, Will.
Interesting. Keenan was someone I was definitely looking at for wide receiver 1. It's a safe option there.
Right.
Looking at what's available, not looking tight end, but as you mentioned, we got all of them except for the top 3 now with Andrews off the board. Quarterbacks, you got Stafford, Brady, Garoppolo, Jared Goff, Rivers. So still a couple of guys. And then you got the likes of Rip, Ben Roethlisberger, Tannehill. Still a couple of guys I wouldn't mind getting as the QB2. So I don't think I need to reach there. David Johnson's still an interesting choice, still sitting there, other than the rookies and kind of just some unsure guys.
Yeah.
Seems like he's an interesting choice, but I think we only got 1 flex, right, Steve?
That is correct, yeah.
Yeah, so don't really need to reach for another running back just yet. So we're probably looking at the wide receiver position. And there's a couple of, upside guys probably going to be, more safer options here. But the one that I'm going to look at is a guy that I think has big upside and a lot of target volume going his way, and that's going to be Terry McLaurin.
Love it.
Yeah, Jarvis is interesting because he's the safety there, but I feel like with the running backs and Kittle already have got a good bit of safety. So I'm going to go with just kind of an upside receiver guy who probably, I think is safe to bank on as a wide receiver 2-3, but could jump into that wide receiver 1 tier if they get a good bit of volume and they're not a good team as we imagine and got a lot of negative game script going against them. So I'm going to lock in Terry McLaurin here, Steve, and we'll see what gets back to you, buddy.
I like the pick.
Oh,
Thank
man.
you.
Oh,
Mike Gallup and David Johnson. Are you hoping for Gallup,
David
Steve?
Johnson.
no, I didn't want either of them.
Okay.
So I will be the first amongst us to strike a second quarterback.
I know who you're going to take.
Okay.
I was
Will
thinking about him,
knows.
Steve.
I can't
was
believe the
thinking
guy
about him.
before me didn't take him, considering there's no
Uh-oh.
quarterbacks. But I am a big Matt Stafford fan, Jacob.
There we go.
Always been. He's like one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. Dude's just gritty.
I like it.
Love it. So I love him as a 2. It flies in my
He's
face
so
at quarterbacks.
consistent.
He is, as long as he
Really
stays
is.
healthy. I am concerned about
Right.
the back issue last year and the
Right.
back issue the year before that he played through. So I am concerned, but I love him. I'm drafting him here, and that'll
Love that.
that'll fit it. Ooh, a lot of quarterbacks going off. Tom Brady goes off the board. Garoppolo, yeah, at 7-1. We did have Zach Ertz go finally at the end of the 6th, and then Geis. I do feel like I need to strike again at the wide receiver position. I was really hoping if McLaurin actually got to me, that would have been a struggle with Matt Stafford and him. So
If I didn't take McLaurin, I probably would have taken Stafford. So you wouldn't have had to have to make that choice.
that's fair. That is
Nice.
fair. So we're looking at Landry, AJ Green, Cooks, Fuller, Higgins. Okay. Hollywood. Some interesting ADPs. Higgins and Mims being as far ups. And Ayuk. There's definitely some rookie things going on with these ADPs. But
This has to
Yeah.
be like a dynasty ADP too.
yeah, it just seems that way. But I will finally embrace my gambler mentality, and I will draft AJ Green. And I don't.
Ooh, there
Okay.
it is.
I don't recommend
Big
this,
gambler.
listeners. Don't do what Steve does.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, don't follow my lead. But I'm going to take AJ Green. It's kind of late. I'll load up on wide receivers. So if he busts, he busts. Whatever. So I'll go after my pick was Kareem Hunt and then Marlon Mack.
All right. So looking at the wide receiver position and maybe quarterback, there's only really a couple of receivers that stand out to me. Jarvis still being there is an interesting safe option to pair with McLaurin. And then Devontae Parker is also another kind of upside guy that's got a lot of volume. Don't really foresee either getting back to me, but one guy that I think Steve and I have been rising on, and we almost were forced into it at the quarterback position because of a 17-team thing that we did, Steve?
Whoa.
Yeah,
you
we did
like,
we did one of the eliminators. 18
Yeah,
teams.
it's an
I think.
eliminator. Yeah. So it's just everybody was going. It was and it was super flex too. So we ended up getting this Jared Goff as our top quarterback later in the draft ish.
Not bad.
Yeah, but yeah, there's just chaos going on, and I've been rising on. I feel like the value is so low for him right now. People are just over him, and I just think he's a good enough quarterback. He's going to have volume. He's got good receivers around him. Without Gurley, they're probably going to run more of a committee backfield and maybe not have to rely on the backfield and maybe pass more, especially with the emergence of their tight end, Higbee. So
Tyler Higbee.
with both receivers there and a couple of other that I wouldn't mind getting, I think locking in my second quarterback here in Jared Goff is kind of like a tier break of after that, it's guys that I'm a little more unsure of. So I'm going to lock in Jared Goff here. And we'll see what gets back to you there, Jacob.
I like that pick because Goff, like you said, without Gurley, Goff's going to pass like 600 times this season. So I can definitely see him racking up the yards.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Steve and I are both Woods fans, both Cup fans. I think he's got the guys there to do it too. So we'll see.
Right.
So we got Darren Waller, Hunter Henry, and then Jarvis Landry goes up to you, Jacob.
Interesting. So none of those guys were actually next on my list, even though Landry is interesting. I don't trust Baker, but I know that Baker does have eyes for Landry, so that is a good pick there in the 7th round. So I need a second quarterback and I need a second wide receiver. I still have hope that I can find a wide receiver in PPR leagues a little later, but the quarterback's available. I mean, shoot. It's between, so for a wide receiver, I like Devontae Parker. I like Mike Williams of the Chargers and Hollywood Brown of the Ravens. And then quarterback, it's like you said, Will, I mean, there's just a few that are like so unsure on. And the only one that I'm like even a little bit confident in is perhaps, Joe Burrow, because he's going to get because he's going to pass a lot. Mm-hmm. Now he's a rookie. So I hesitate there. And then, there's Tannehill and Cam Newton, in New England. This is tough.
Yeah, it's just it's a little bit of a tier break. Maybe you got a safe guy in Rivers, but there's not a ton of upside and safety really left on the board. Right.
So, I mean, as lame as this sounds, I think I'll go with the safest. And it's weird because I was kind of not like bashing on him, but I was, you know what? I'm waffling here again, guys.
Do you give any thought to the teams behind you? Only one of the two teams have a quarterback and only one quarterback. So maybe quarterbacks will go, whereas they have a combined 6 wide receivers.
That's a brilliant point right there. Yeah, because I see that the next me doesn't have a quarterback, like you said. Actually, and only have one quarterback. So I assume at least one or two will go off the board here. Mm-hmm. So I might as well just. So I have a pick. Later, but I think it's way too early to get him. So I think I'm going to go safe here. I'm going to go with Ryan Tannehill, just because of what we saw last year. He did great, and he, I write like these fantasy football streamer articles, like quarterbacks that are owned under 50%. It seemed like Tannehill was always at the top of that list, because he was always solid.
Year. Yep. Yeah, it's crazy.
All year. So, I'm going to go with Ryan Tannehill as my second quarterback. I don't love it, but he's going to be consistent for me, and it's safe. And then, like you predicted, Will, there was two quarterbacks taken after me. So it was Brandon Cooks, Hollywood Brown, Derek Carr, and then Kirk Cousins. So Kirk Cousins definitely would have been a real safe pick for me next if I didn't take Tannehill. So I'm a little bit happy that I did take Tannehill. Now I think I'll shift my gaze to wide receiver because I have to, because that's the last position I need to fill here. Mm-hmm. And the remaining wide receivers are pretty good. So we got, here, let me see. We got Will Fuller. We got Devontae Parker, Julian Edelman, Christian Kirk. I think I'm going to go with Devontae Parker because of what he showed at the end of last year and that rapport he has with Ryan Fitzpatrick. And just a little bit of a gamble there, like Steve, in that hopefully Tua forms a bond with him if he takes over sometime in the season. So I think I'll go with Parker here. I am heavily debating between him and Edelman right now because Newton's there, but I just don't trust Edelman right now. I think I'll just go to Devontae Parker here as my wide receiver too.
Fair. Not bad.
Thank you. And then got Rivers taken after me, and then J.K. Dobbins, and then Ronald Jones II. And then back to you, Will.
I like that pick. Parker was probably the only receiver that I really liked. So now I'm going to have to be digging in the receiving if I do go there.
Right.
But it's interesting because I think because of a running back still available, I think I'm going to have to go running back. I'm surprised Dobbins goes over a guy like Jonathan Taylor still available.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I Steve and I got him in one of our dynasty leagues, moved up to get him, and we really needed running backs there. So we're both pretty high on him.
Yeah.
I think, getting him here is more of a luxury pick, right? Not having a second receiver yet, but I think I'll be able to get somebody, either an upside guy or a safer guy, or having trade bait of having Clyde and Jonathan Taylor as my third running back. gives me a little bit of insurance if Edwards doesn't pan out right away. But getting both of them there behind Zeke and Jacobs, I think, really solidifies the running back position and really means I don't really have to reach for any of them really the rest of the way. I can't really see any other guys there. And there's enough receivers I think I'll be able to get one a little later on. So we're going to go Jonathan Taylor here. And Steve, we'll see what gets back to you, buddy.
Steal.
That's what I'm hoping for. We got T. Higgins and Evan Ingram to you, Steve.
So my first pick is pretty easy here. I want to add another wide receiver because I only got two, and I don't trust AJ Green. So I will go with the reliable Marvin Jones, pairing him with Matt Stafford.
Love it. Cool.
Pretty reliable guy with a lot of boom to him as well. So loving that pick. After that was Will Fuller, CeeDee Lamb, Denzel Mims, and Philip Lindsay. Before I make my next pick, I do want to call out, we got about 15 minutes left. So we're going to burn through some of these last picks.
Let's do it.
I'm going to take this opportunity to accomplish two things. First, I've kind of gone with a quarterback heavier strategy here, kind of demonstrating for the listeners what it's like to go a little bit quarterback heavy with Mahomes first and being the first of us to draft two quarterbacks. I'm going to continue that trend and lock in a third quarterback. Since it's, two quarterbacks, you need a third to cover your bye. It's kind of limited pickings. So I will lock in my third guy now. And at the same time, I'm going to be a jerk. I'm going to take Drew Lock here.
Yeah,
finally.
Whoa, come on.
Finally. I get the Bronco that I wanted, or a Bronco.
Great pick, man. I was hoping he would fall to the 11th round. Great pick.
There we go. I feel happy with my pick now. So I do feel kind of bad locking in a third quarterback. I don't have a tight end yet. I'm not secure at wide receiver, but whatever. Drew Lock it is.
Love it.
Minshew went right after, and then Sonny Michel to you, Will.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I was wondering how many teams are going to take three quarterbacks in the draft here, but the team after you just got their first quarterback in Gardner Minshew, which is an interesting, interesting choice.
Interesting, terrifying.
Number one QB. Yeah, exactly.
Let's see if it works out for him.
There's a few running backs still available, but I think I've got to look at the wide receiver position. The guys that are interesting to me, Edelman. For a safer option, as you mentioned. Christian Kirk is kind of more of an upside option. I don't know what to make of the receiving core. I think we know Hopkins is going to get a ton of volume, but I don't know who comes in as the second fiddle. Is it Fitz? Is it Christian Kirk? Is it somebody else? Running backs. So another upside guy there. And then a guy like Mike Williams, I think you mentioned earlier, that I do like. It's interesting with the volume that they're going to have there. I'm not sure the way that's going to play out. But I think there's enough kind of upside options available that I'm going to go with very just gross pick and just lock in Julian Edelman, a guy that I think
that's not gross.
I mean, it's just, I will see with Cam, right? I mean, but if Cam doesn't pan out and Stidham, I don't know. He's probably going to be a wide receiver 3, right? At the worst, maybe you get a wide receiver 2 out of it. It's not the sexy pick here with a lot of other flashy guys available, but getting just a safe wide receiver to pair there with a boom or bust potential guy with McLaurin. We'll go ahead here and lock in Julian Edelman. And after that, Christian Kirk goes, Rob Gronkowski, and TJ Hawkinson.
All right. So I was looking at Kirk, but that's okay. Because Gronk and Hawkinson went off the board, and I already have Mark Andrews. I'm set there. So this next pick, I really like to cover my bases. I'm going to follow the way of Steve and take a third quarterback because just in case Ryan Tannehill's season was kind of a flash in the pan, I'll go with this high upside quarterback in Joe Burrow and see if he can live up to those expectations and just cover my bases and at the worst have a solid bye week filler. So I'm going to go Joe Burrow here.
Very nice. Very nice. Like that.
Thank you. And then we got Brandon Ayuk, Austin Hooper, Kerryon Johnson, who I was looking at with my next pick, and then Laviska Shenault Jr. So
wasn't sure if you're going to be looking at your boy Laviska. I know you're a Colorado fan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. CU Buffs, man. Go Buffs. I would have taken a flyer on him later, but I don't trust him yet.
Yeah.
But I love that he was drafted this early because he is a supreme talent. He was awesome to watch. He was fun. Here, though, I am going to go, since Kerryon Johnson was taken, I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift, the rookie out of Georgia, and just hope, since it's pretty late, hope that he takes that starting position away from Kerryon or splits early and then takes over later.
Might have been the first time I think we've seen Kerryon go over Swift.
Yeah.
What's weird is that...
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say Mac went over Taylor in this draft, and now Kerryon's going over Swift. So there's a lot of people taking the extremely safe route in being like, hey, the vet's not going anywhere. They're going to start out the season, So I get it. What do you think, Steve?
I'm more on the side that the ADP is just messed up.
A little bit.
But yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to make sense of it.
Yeah, I mean, people do take that strategy though. Like, not every draft is some cookie cutter that follows the same strategy. Some people like the vets over the rookies. That's how it works in redraft sometimes. So it's not outlandish. I think it's wrong, but it's not outlandish.
Sure. Yeah. And then Mostert was taken after me. Mike Williams, who I'm sure that Will was looking at here, I was looking at as well, and then Sterling Shepard.
Right. So at this point, been kind of not worrying about the tight end position for a little while now with Kittle. Probably not going to go with another one the rest of the way. But a third quarterback is interesting, as we mentioned. You guys both locked that down, and there's probably not going to be too much on the waiver wire if this is a real league. May go with another running back at some point here in the draft, but I'm pretty, comfortable with the 4 that I have. So maybe an upside guy later, and I'll probably need to get at least 2 more receivers. There's really not too many quarterbacks still available. One guy sticks out here, and that's Ben Roethlisberger. I'd be thrilled here to get him as my third quarterback with Matt Ryan and Goff. I think we all said none of us have been in a league like this, but I can imagine a third quarterback that's actually starting is really good trade bait in the league as well.
True.
So I think with the depth of receivers still available, maybe take a shot on a running back at some point, but don't need to really reach for one here. Getting a third quarterback, solidifying that position, and then just pounding out the running back receiver the rest of the way makes sense for me. So we'll lock in Big Ben Roethlisberger.
Nice.
And Steve, we got Cole and Teddy Bridgewater. To you.
Will, do you see who the top tight end on the board is?
I do.
Oh yeah, my boy.
Man,
yeah. Noah Fant.
Oh man, foreshadowing, right?
Do I have to take even in the last round or what?
Yeah, as tempted as I am, I'm more of a Higbee guy. So I will lock in my tight end and just grab Higbee now. Fant's interesting, but we've seen more from Higbee. It was a longer sample of extreme talent. So I will lock in Higbee.
I like it.
I will shout out. We got about 5 minutes to go, so maybe we burn through these last picks pretty quickly here. So looking at wide receivers again, because I want more wide receivers, I'm really bouncing between Anthony Miller and Darius Slayton. I think Slayton has the higher upside with a more clear quarterback situation going on, so I'm going to lock him in.
Easy pick there for you. Very nice. Slayton was probably the guy that I was looking at here as well.
Nice.
Only having 2 receivers is tough, but looking at either 3 wide receivers in a row here likely, or maybe getting a running back and 2 receivers. And there's still a couple interesting running backs available. A lot of the rookies on the board. You got Zach Moss. You still got a guy in Cam Akers that I think has crazy upside. Interesting to looking at another rookie running back with 2 already on the team, but just running backs are worth so much. So Cam Akers is interesting to me. I'd probably go him because there's really not any receivers that I'm in love with over the other ones. So I think I'm going to lock in Cam and then just grab 2 receivers here at the end and come regular season, if this is a real team, really just have to work on the, as long as a couple running backs pan out, really just have to focus on the wide receiver position through the waivers. So we'll lock in Cam Akers here for my 5th running back. For that, Zach Moss, Tariq Cohen, and Anthony Miller. To you, Jacob.
Very solid. Actually, Akers would have been my next pick because if you know me, my usual strategy is to, once my team is done, I stack up on running backs with potential for trade bait, like you were saying with your Big Ben pick.
Yeah.
So now that you took Akers, now I can go back to what I need, and that's a wide receiver. And now I'm in between three. It's Judy, Rager, and Deontay Johnson. And I can't not pick my boy here, the Denver Bronco, Jerry Judy here. So this is definitely a homer pick, but he does have talent, so I justify it with that.
There you go.
I got a question for you, Jacob. I know we're short on time, but I'm going to ask it anyway. No offense on the board. Would you rather have Mark Andrews and Jerry Judy, or say Keenan Allen and Noah Fant?
I think the Keenan Allen and Fant is a little bit more safe, and as you guys have probably learned, I'm all about safety. I'm not sure how much of an impact Judy will make this year. He could make a huge impact, or he can just make a minimal impact because of all this stuff going on. It's just hard to say how well rookies will do. So I think I would go with that Fant Keenan Allen combo there.
Fair, cool.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's an interesting call out, Steve. Too. Like, it's always cool to look back and kind of see, okay, now seeing where I'm at now, I could have substituted this for this and gotten this other tight end later. So it's interesting to look at.
Right. And that's what makes Mock so valuable.
Yeah.
So, So after the Judy pick went James White, Emmanuel Sanders, Jordan Howard, and Darrell Henderson Jr. And so I am going to take the pick that I'm going to take Jalen Rager, the rookie from Philadelphia, and stack my wide receivers.
Yeah, loading up on those Eagles. That's what I like to see.
That's right. I know, right? That's crazy. And then after Rager went Robbie Anderson, Paris Campbell, and our guy Noah Fant.
There he goes. So looking at the wide receiver position, still quite a few available. Probably lock in two here. One guy that sticks out to me that I know Steve and I are both big on is Preston Williams, another upside guy. I've got a safe guy in Edelman, so I'll probably go a couple of upside shots here. I'm sure Perriman is interesting as well, but probably a little more on the safe side and don't really. Maybe not safe. He's probably been more bust, but a guy that you kind of know what you're getting there, whereas Preston could kind of break out into something. Then there's a couple of other receivers that will be interesting, but I think Preston Williams is a nice, interesting upside shot here for the receiving core. Yeah. I'm really looking for boom here. So we'll go Preston. After that, Alshon Jeffrey, Sammy Watkins, and to you, Steve.
Kind of a tough spot because I feel like I need another running back because I only got 3, but I'm also not like super confident or in love with some of the wide receivers. But I got to go running back here for sure. I'm going to take my gamble on Nyheim Hines and see if he carves out.
Nice.
I don't see him being an Eckler, but maybe we'll get some extra pass catching volume with Rivers there. So we'll lock him in there.
Yeah, it's late.
Yeah, for sure. Why not? Brian Edwards, Tevin Coleman, A.J. Dillon, and Deontay Johnson going off the board. I will take one more shot on a running back here. Lock him in before Jacob does and his Philadelphia love, and grab Boston Scott.
Nice
I think
pick.
Boston Scott's a nice shot for a PPR pick. So we're going to lock him in as a fifth running back there. We had Jared Cook and Damian Harris go off the board right after me.
All right, so back to me. Just a couple of picks here left on the draft. So looking at wide receiver once again. And we got some guys, some of the late round guys that I like. Alan Lazard's still there, Russell Gage, but still looking for more kind of boom guys. And I think looking at a rookie here makes sense. And a guy like Henry Ruggs is a big boomer bust guy. And then you still got a guy, Justin Jefferson, that I think has a really big upside as well. I think I like Jefferson better, but the makeup of this team maybe calls for more of a boomer bust receiver in Henry Ruggs. So we'll go grab Ruggs here. I don't think I'll have him in too many drafts, but we'll give him a shot here on this team. So we'll lock it in with Ruggs to end my draft. After that, Golden Tate, N'Keal Harry, and Irv Smith for your last pick, Jacob.
Very good. I like the Ruggs pick because I think the Raiders will force feed him the ball all year. But getting back to my pick, I'm going to go ahead and just take a dark horse pick here. I'm going to go with Keyshawn Vaughn, the rookie, the running backs rookie for the Buccaneers. I just I just think that Vaughn and Ronald Jones are going to duke it out for carries, and hopefully Vaughn's size will give him the upper hand. And we all know that if Brady wants Vaughn, he's going to get Vaughn. So if Vaughn shows out for Brady, then it's Vaughn's job the rest of the way. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick Vaughn here to as my last pick, and then Newton goes off the board, and then Goddard goes off the board last pick.
Nice. You get him 5 rounds after Ronald Jones goes too.
Right.
And either could come out as a starter. I think Steve and I are both more on the Vaughn side, anti Ronald Jones guys.
Never Rojo. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
As we finish things up here, Jacob, we tend to just go through our rosters real quick, read them off, and give a quick quick feel of how you're feeling about the team. Typically go right to left, so I'll kick it off here. At quarterback, I have Patrick Mahomes, Matt Stafford, and Drew Lock. At running back, Kenyon Drake, Chris Carson, Todd Gurley, Naeem Hines, and Boston Scott. And then at wide receiver, DJ Moore, AJ Green, Marvin Jones, and Darius Slayton. And at tight end, Tyler Higbee. Overall, I think the team's got a lot of potential. It's a steady team, but as I kind of figured, I'm really not comfortable with the first pick. I would have rather had Zeke as my first pick, and then maybe went Stafford and Jared Goff back to back later. That would make me a lot more comfortable with this team. But overall, it's not bad. I think it could compete. How about you, Will? What do you think?
Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with the team. Overall, we got Matt Ryan, Jared Goff, and Big Ben at quarterback. We got Zeke, Josh Jacobs, and then 3 rookies in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jonathan Taylor, and Cam Akers at running back. So banking on at least one of those rookies popping for the flex position. At wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, Julian Edelman, Preston Williams, and Henry Ruggs. And then Kittle rounding it out at tight end. It's interesting. There's really, when you go back and do that, if you took this player over this player, with Kittle, I don't really see any guys that I would have rather had than him. I think that was just kind of a drop for the tight ends there.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, probably just going to be fishing for receivers in the free agent pool with this team, but I'd be pretty happy with this going into 2 QB team as far as I know, as we all don't really know what we'd be getting into in that type.
Right.
What about you?
Right.
How you feeling running with your team, man?
I'm feeling pretty solid. I like the safety makeup of my team. At quarterback, I have Wentz and Tannehill, and then Burrow as like my high upside guy. And then my running backs are solid to me. I really like it. I like mixing Miles Sanders and Le'Veon Bell to give me that safety in my flex position. And then at wideout is a question mark, but also has the potential to be solid with Juju Smith-Schuster and Devontae Parker. And then I have Mark Andrews as my tight end, and he's just a beast. And then what's crazy is that my bench is all rookies here with Joe Burrow, DeAndre Swift, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen Reagor, and Keyshawn Vaughn. So that's pretty funny. They all have potential to be great if injuries happen or something like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. So thanks for joining us, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Absolutely, guys. This was a ton of fun. I really appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, let's
absolutely.
give you a quick plug again. Can you tell the listeners where we can find your work and where we can follow you on Twitter?
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at Ain't Done Yet, and Done is spelled Dunne. I write for Primetime Sports Talk, Fantasy Six Pack, and New Life Fantasy. So if you just follow me on Twitter, I always post my stuff there. I would love for you guys to follow me. I'll follow back, and it was a pleasure, guys.
Beautiful. Thanks, man. Thank you. Follow us on Twitter at Trust Your Board. Please give us a rating, like, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks for joining us today. Always remember, trust your board.